Imagine a riddle so profound that its solution will reveal an understanding of the very essence of being. A question whose answer would revolutionize your view of reality. What if the veil hiding the truth was about to be torn away and everything you knew about yourself turned out to be an illusion? Geniuses like John Wheeler, in the silence of their offices, have come to a conclusion that could shake the foundations of our worldview. Human beings are not just fleeting creatures bounded by the limits of life and death. Each of us is an eternal consciousness that has neither beginning nor end. This truth eludes most, but your presence here and now is no accident. Stay with us, for behind this veil lies the knowledge that has always been within you. And if you dare to embrace it, the world around you will change forever. But remember, time is of the essence. From birth, your history has been written for you, not by you. Every person is given a name from birth, predetermined social roles, and set the boundaries of what is allowed. Taking these conditions as a given, the individual often does not realize that deep down there is a feeling of dissonance, as if the imposed restrictions are alien to his true nature. What if we assume that the entire story of a person's life, the carefully constructed narrative of the self, is nothing but a grand illusion? Physicist John Wheeler, an associate of Einstein himself, made a discovery that challenged the conventional view of reality. He put forward the concept of a co-creating universe, according to which the act of observation does not simply reveal reality, but actively participates in its creation. Man is not a passive observer, but rather a director, a scriptwriter, an actor, and the stage itself at the same time, but at some point he loses this awareness. Whenever a man looks in the mirror and sees his body, he identifies it with himself, but the question arises, through whose eyes does he look at his reflection? Who is thinking these thoughts? Scientific evidence shows that the cells of the body are constantly renewed, dying off and being replaced by new ones. The physical shell in which man lives today has changed dramatically from what it was a decade ago. Even the brain, this most complex control center, has been rebuilt and adapted countless times. A legitimate question arises. If the bodily essence is in a state of continuous transformation, how can it serve as a reliable determinant of a person's identity? However, Wheeler's findings extend even further, calling into question the very notion of time in its usual sense. Past and future appear to be nothing more than constructs, a kind of mental scenery that creates the illusion of movement and sequence. In reality, all existence, without exception, takes place in the present moment. The man who existed yesterday and the man who will exist tomorrow are not separate links in the same endless chain, but the loom itself, which creates this chain. To better understand this concept, we can think of reality as a movie film where each frame exists simultaneously. What we perceive as the passage of time is merely a projection of these frames in a specific sequence. But here is the hidden truth. The movie starts moving only when the viewer, the observer, appears. Wheeler's concept of the participatory universe clearly demonstrates that without the observer, reality as such ceases to exist. Awareness is not just an element in the big picture, it is the picture itself. This means that the individual is not constrained by past experiences or imposed perceptions. He is not a static character in a predetermined scenario, but rather the creator of his own destiny, the author of his own story. But what happens when this creator forgets his role? This is where the illusion of the ego arises, a kind of shadow that whispers of insignificance, isolation, and powerlessness. The ego feeds on fear, thrives on doubt, and convinces us that the world is a hostile force from the outside rather than the result of our own actions. However, it's worth remembering that the ego is nothing more than a glitch in the system, a program fixated on itself. Let's imagine a virtual reality helmet that immerses a person in the atmosphere of a dense and ominous forest. The sounds of roaring invisible predators, penetrating cold, all this causes panic and the desire to run away. But when you remove the helmet, it becomes obvious that the forest is just a projection. That's the nature of the ego. It's a filter that distorts the perception of reality and makes you believe in something you are not. And the longer this filter is used, the harder it is to remember one's true self. Wheeler's theoretical constructs decisively refute the established view of reality as something frozen and predetermined. He convincingly demonstrated that the universe is not a soulless mechanism, but rather a dynamic and receptive system. Every thought, every experience, every choice made influences the structure of existence, like waves spreading over the surface of a body of water. Man is not just an outside observer, but an active creator and architect of this comprehensive structure. Unfortunately, most people do not realize their role, remaining in the captivity of outdated perceptions and stereotypes. But don't you sometimes get the feeling that somewhere in the depths of your soul there is a maturing realization that much of what you have doubted may be true? That the limitations and fears that one places on oneself have no basis in fact? It is worth listening to this feeling and giving it a chance to develop. After all, surely everyone is familiar with moments of synchronization when thoughts of someone anticipate a phone call, or when the circumstances unfold in the most incredible way. According to Wheeler's ideas, these are not just random coincidences, but the universe's response to a person's realization of his or her power. But what happens when you stop seeing it as coincidence and start using that power intentionally? At this moment, a fundamental break occurs. A man stops feeling himself to be only a small fraction of the worldly sea and suddenly realizes his true nature, a boundless, inexhaustible, and omnipotent ocean. Let us imagine for a moment the following picture. An individual is so deeply immersed in the fulfillment of a certain role in the unfolding drama of life before him, so accustomed to it that he has completely lost the understanding of its illusory nature. All the things that he used to consider his I, name, memories, life's twists and turns, defeats and triumphs, are nothing but skillfully sewn costumes and carefully selected props in a grand theatrical production. They seem absolutely real because of the enormous amount of energy and time invested in them. They are honed to perfection by countless rehearsals. But in the back of one's mind, there is always a smoldering premonition of something greater, something unfathomable. Wheeler's discoveries serve as a convincing confirmation of this conjecture. A man does not just play the role assigned to him, he is simultaneously the author of the play and the stage director, and the very stage on which the action unfolds. And here is where the most unexpected turn occurs. At the moment of realizing this fact, the scenario of life begins to change dramatically. The example of a river whirlpool is a vivid illustration. At first glance, it appears to be an isolated phenomenon with its own unique shape, trajectory, and individuality. But is it really so separate from the rest of the river? Or maybe it is just a river forever striving forward, a fleeting incarnation in an endless stream. Every man is a whirlpool in this river, all that he is accustomed to regard as his self. Thoughts, feelings, physical body are like swirling streams of water, continually transforming. But the river, this deep awareness that flows beneath the surface, has neither beginning nor end. John Wheeler expressed this concept brilliantly when he spoke of the universe as a self-generating chain, a loop that exists because it observes itself. Man is not just a bystander in this cosmic loop, he is its root cause. It is worth stopping for a moment and thinking, if everything man thinks about himself is subject to constant change, what remains unchanged? Who or what observes these metamorphoses? Who is the constant witness of every thought, every feeling, every experience? It is enough to close your eyes and feel it. This unmoving, immovable awareness is the true self, not the self that plays roles and weaves stories, but the authentic self. Wheeler's work demonstrates that this awareness is not confined to the individual. It is universal. The same awareness that watches over the life of each person also watches over the universe itself. the stars, the galaxies, the entire divine universe. In the vast expanse of awareness where each of us finds our place lies something more than mere observation. This all-encompassing realm is the true self. This is where Wheeler's stunning concept of a co-creative universe comes into play, radically changing our understanding of the human role in the universe. We are not just passive spectators of the drama of existence unfolding before us, but active co-creators of reality. Every thought born in our consciousness, every intention we cherish, every feeling we experience, all this generates waves spreading through the very fabric of existence. The observer effect, confirmed by science, demonstrates that particles do not exist in a definite, fixed state until they come under the scrutiny of an observer. The universe appears to us not as a soulless mechanism, but as a majestic symphony where each of us plays the role of conductor. Each note we play forms a unique melody of our life. However, as is often the case, this is where most people overlook a key point. The ego, that part of our psyche that seeks isolation and control, fiercely resists this profound truth. It clings to the illusion of power, convincing us of our separateness, insignificance, and powerlessness. Why? Because the ego feeds on fear and a sense of limitation. But the moment we have an epiphany and see its true nature, its grip loosens. It is like stepping out of a dark room into a sunlit expanse. Suddenly, everything becomes crystal clear. Once we see this light, we cannot go back to the darkness of the past. Unfortunately, many people stop halfway. They get a fleeting glimpse of the truth, but do not integrate it into their lives, do not allow it to completely transform their perception of the world. People often become prisoners of the apparent world without seeking to look beyond it. But this is the unique chance to go beyond the boundaries of habitual perception and realize your true role not just as an observer, but as a creator of the universe. Each person's choice, be it a decision made, a fleeting thought, or an established belief, becomes a brick in the construction of his or her personal reality. This concept is reflected in John Wheeler's famous phrase, "it from bit," which asserts that the entire multiplicity of our experience originates in simple binary choices, in yes or no answers. Every moment of life is a fork in the road, offering a choice, whether to remain captive to the illusion of separation or to remember our limitless essence. Many choose the path of least resistance, condemning themselves to repeat the same scenarios, but this choice is not inevitable. At the moment, everyone is faced with a choice, whether to go with the flow, playing the role of a character reacting to the vicissitudes of the plot, or to take up the pen and start writing their own story, the one that was destined to come to life. It is important to realize that this power has always been inside, waiting to be remembered. Wheeler's contribution is not just a scientific concept, but rather a carefully crafted itinerary leading to the realization of the true essence of man, to an understanding of the I that knows no boundaries, exists outside of time, and is inextricably linked to the entire universe. This is a unique opportunity to awaken and look at the world from a different angle. Diving into the depths of self-knowledge, it is worth paying attention to the deepest fears that haunt a person. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being rejected, and fear of death. But what is the source of these fears? They arise from the belief that man is isolated from the world around him, that there is some invisible boundary between him and the rest of the universe. However, according to Wheeler's theory of the contributing universe, this boundary is merely an illusion, like a line drawn in the ocean that cannot divide the water into two different substances. The universe does not exist as something external and detached, but as a result of human perception. Because of this, man is never separated from it. He is not just a drop in the ocean, but he is the ocean itself, boundless and all-encompassing. To experience this connection on a sensual level, it is necessary to translate this understanding into reality, to feel it with every cell of one's being. Dive into your memories and find that unique moment when you felt an unbreakable connection with all things. Perhaps it was the contemplation of a purple sunset, a melody that penetrated into the depths of your soul, or a silent standing under the shimmering canvas of the starry sky. At such moments, the boundaries between the personal self and the surrounding world are erased, leaving only an all-consuming sense of absolute being. It is not a mere accident, but a revelation of reality revealing its true nature. At that moment, the observer and the universe merge into one, and man becomes an integral part of the universe. This deep connection is not a fleeting experience, but reflects one's true nature hidden beneath the shroud of ego. Unfortunately, most people live their lives caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, not realizing that the inner silence has always been there. This is why the idea of death is so frightening. We perceive it as the final end, but can something infinite have a limit? Wheeler's theories shed light on this question by demonstrating that time is not a linear process with a beginning and an end. Rather, it is a closed loop, a spiral, an eternal now. What we perceive as past and future are merely different perspectives within this infinite present. And here is the key point that turns everything upside down. If a person is never born in the true sense of the word, how can he or she truly die? The idea of one's own consciousness undergoes a change, like a wave dissolving into a vast ocean. The individual self does not disappear, but becomes part of the comprehensive whole. But this is only one aspect of understanding. It is important not only to realize one's timeless and infinite nature, but also to put this knowledge into practice. What does it mean to realize this truth? First of all, giving up the position of being a victim of circumstances. A person realizes that any trials, mental suffering, and losses are not random events falling on him from the outside, but a manifestation of the universe transforming itself through his experience. These events serve as lessons, guide, and lead along the path of life. When resistance to this natural flow ceases, life takes on a new dimension. The struggle loses its urgency, and fear gradually dissipates. One realizes that what one has been trying to escape from is the key to one's liberation. It is worth reflecting on how often the guilt of not being good enough, smart enough, strong enough, or successful enough has arisen. But what if those feelings were never genuine? What if they are just part of a story created by the ego to keep the personality within a limited perception? Wheeler's scientific endeavors demonstrate conclusively that man's purpose is not to prove his own worth, but to create, learn, and recreate forgotten truths. The universe does not put man on trial, it only responds to his manifestations. Every thought, every belief, and every feeling become the threads that form the fabric of reality. If one is constrained to believe in one's own limitations, this is what will be reflected in one's perception of the world. However, the moment he remembers his true nature, when he realizes that he is not a wave but a vast ocean, a transformation takes place. At this point, one may experience a complex palette of feelings from curiosity and excitement to perhaps even fear. This is quite natural, as the ego resists any challenge, seeking to keep the person within the familiar narrative in a state of oblivion. But the individual always has a choice. Allow the ego to continue to run his or her life or move beyond its influence. It is not a matter of becoming something new, but of returning to what man has always been, infinite, timeless, and whole. The only question is man ready to see it? For once it happens, there is no going back. Liberation through truth becomes possible only when one opens oneself to it. It is necessary to break down the last barriers of illusion that keep many in ignorance. Think about how much effort goes into searching for the meaning of life, for love, for success, for trying to prove one's worth. However, the paradox is that the more active these searches are, the farther away what is desired slips away, as if chasing one's own shadow, which always remains unattainable. Wheeler's writings hold the key to unlocking this mystery. He proved that reality is not something that can be found, but rather something that each person creates for himself. And there it is, the truth that can turn minds upside down. Everything that has been sought has always been found within. Imagine reality as a blank canvas waiting for the first strokes to appear on it. Many people paint on this canvas unknowingly, letting old fears and beliefs define the picture. They don't realize they are holding the brush in their hands. But the moment that realization comes, when one realizes that it is one's thoughts and beliefs that shape reality, everything changes dramatically. John Archibald Wheeler dubbed this phenomenon the participatory anthropic principle, proposing the audacious hypothesis that the universe exists not simply by virtue of the very fact of your existence, but actively interacts with you, responding to your every choice, to the slightest fluctuations of your inner world. A natural question arises. What kind of universe are you creating at the moment? A world permeated with fear and constraint, or a universe open to limitless possibilities? Herein lies the key point overlooked by most. By transforming your perception, you set off a chain reaction that changes the entire universe. This is not just speculative speculation in the realm of metaphysics, but a fundamental law of physics. Wheeler's it from bit theory convincingly demonstrates that at the very core of reality is the principle of choice. Affirmative or negative decision, belief or doubt, fear or trust. Every decision you make generates waves that shape your personal experience. But the interesting thing is that choices don't have to be global and momentous. Even one fleeting thought, one moment of awareness, can generate a powerful shockwave that permeates your entire being. Surely you've experienced this before, haven't you? Those very moments when everything around you seems to align in perfect harmony, when it feels as if the universe itself is speaking directly to you. In fact, there is nothing accidental when a person begins to feel the power of the Creator in himself. It is worth reflecting on stories heard earlier, on the boundaries of the possible in which he unconditionally believed. It is about the beliefs that shape the view of himself, about potential achievements, and about what life should be. But there is a secret that is carefully kept from him. All these stories are nothing more than fiction. They are programs passed down from generation to generation by people mired in their own delusions. By accepting these stories as truth, one gives away some of his power. Wheeler's discoveries clearly demonstrate that reality is not a fixed given, but a fluid substance like a river that changes its course under the influence of awareness. The question arises, is man ready to continue to follow the current set by others, or will he take the course to explore uncharted horizons on his own? It is necessary to stop for a moment and ask oneself the question, who am I? Not the roles one has to play, not the labels given by society, but the awareness that asks this question. This is the true self, and therein lies an incredible power. This awareness is not bound by past experiences, current circumstances, or even the deepest fears. Reality appears to us as something boundless, knowing neither beginning nor end, as a flow that cannot be stopped. But the paradox is that the vast majority of people never come to realize this truth. They remain in a state of spiritual slumber, entangled in the net of egoistic illusions, naively believing that they are cut off from the universal unity. Their existence is like the life of a wave that never realizes its inseparable connection with the ocean of which it has always been a part. But there are those who are different from this mass. The hearer of these words is already on the threshold of awakening, for in the depths of his being, the knowledge of truth is maturing. Some part of his soul has been languishing, waiting for this moment to regain its lost memory. And now, the moment of truth, the turning point in his destiny, has arrived. Two paths open before the listener. He can let this knowledge dissolve in the bustle of everyday life, turning it into a fleeting thought that will be forgotten tomorrow. But there is another way. the way of a daring leap into the unknown. He may decide to enter into a true understanding of his essence in order to claim himself as the creator of his own reality. Wheeler's teachings are not just a set of theories, they are a call to action, an invitation to stop fruitlessly searching and start creating, to stop being a passive effect and become an active cause. For the truth is that none of us is insignificant, powerless, or isolated. Each of us is a limitless universe just waiting for the moment when we remember our greatness. So, what will be the next creation? What worlds will we create when we awaken from hibernation? The burden of choice has always been on the shoulders of every human being. It is only worth recalling the episodes of one's own life that struck one with their precision, as if ordinary coincidence was out of place here. Recall the moments when a complete stranger said exactly the words you desperately needed, or when the solution to a difficult problem appeared at the very moment when you were ready to give up. Probably, many people tend to dismiss such situations, writing them off as luck or mere coincidence. But what if we assume that the concept of coincidence does not exist at all? What if all these moments are nothing but messages, evidence that the universe is alive, responsive, and inextricably linked to each of us? John Wheeler's concept of a co-creative universe reveals an image of divinity distinct from a cold and chaotic void. Instead, it appears as a complex network of interconnected possibilities where each thread responds to human awareness. And this is not mere metaphysical speculation, but quite valid quantum physics. Wheeler's research in quantum entanglement strongly suggests that after an interaction, particles remain connected, regardless of the distance separating them. The interconnection of phenomena, when a change in one element is instantly reflected in another, has long ceased to be the domain of theoretical research, becoming a strict scientific regularity. Moreover, this principle is pervasive and determines the structure of reality itself, not limited to the microcosm of elementary particles. This is where the explanation of those mystical coincidences that each of us has experienced at least once lies. This is not just an external circumstance that develops in a certain way, but a direct reaction of the universe to the inner state of a person. Every thought, every fleeting feeling, like a wave, spreads along the quantum network, bringing the reality in accordance with the inner world of an individual. When a person is in a state of harmony, guided by clear intentions, his life flows smoothly and measuredly. New horizons open up before him, favorable opportunities arise, and circumstances are formed in the most magical way. But if one gives in to fear and doubt, this harmony is disrupted, creating obstacles, delays, and chaos. For better understanding, we can give such an analogy. Imagine the smooth surface of a pond in which a stone is thrown. Circles diverge from the place of the fall, covering the entire surface of the water. Now imagine that this pond is reality itself, and your consciousness is the stone. Every thought, every belief, every observation generates waves that affect not only your own life, but also the destinies of people and phenomena around you. Synchronicity is perceived as a deeply personal experience, and this is only natural, for it is a reflection of individual consciousness, shaping the world around us in ways that often elude full understanding. However, there is an aspect that goes unnoticed by most people. Synchronicity is not just some sign of destiny, but a powerful tool. The universe, through this phenomenon, signals harmony between the inner world of man and the infinite potential of existence. When a person witnesses such moments, one should not neglect them. On the contrary, it is necessary to delve into their study. It is important to ask oneself questions. What thoughts occupied the mind at that moment? What feelings overwhelmed the soul? What events were happening around you? The universe does not act chaotically. It is like a mirror reflecting the inner state of a person. John Archibald Wheeler, a prominent theoretical physicist, was of the opinion that reality itself emerges from the act of observation. The universe, in his view, is not something frozen and isolated, but is formed in response to conscious perception. Thus, the experience of synchronicity is not simply a message sent to the universe from a distant corner, but the co-creation of reality in real time. It is a kind of feedback loop, the self-exciting circuit Wheeler spoke of, where existence is fueled by awareness. Because each individual is inextricably linked to the divine, they are the embodiment of divinity. But we can dig even deeper. If synchronicity is a manifestation of the universe adjusting to human awareness, then quantum entanglement is proof of universal interconnectedness. Wheeler's research demonstrates that at the deepest level, all elements of the universe are connected. Distance and time lose their meaning, and the entire universe appears as an indivisible whole of which every human being is a part. This means that any thought, any action, generates waves spreading through this network of interconnections, influencing not only personal life, but also the whole divine dance of existence. It is worth considering for a moment the implications of this discovery. If everything is interconnected, then no action remains isolated. Every choice, every belief, every vibration emitted is felt by the whole world. And this is not just spiritual reasoning, but fundamental laws of physics indicating that man has far more power than he has been led to believe. And now it is worth asking the question, what waves does everyone create in the surrounding space? Do they arise out of fear, scarcity, and doubt, or are they born out of trust, intention, and alignment? Most people don't even realize they are holding a pebble, let alone throwing it into a pond. But you are not most people. You are here now because part of you knows the truth. Part of you is ready to take responsibility for the waves you are making, because once you do, synchronicity will become more than a curiosity. It will become a guide, a compass pointing you towards living in harmony with the infinite. This is your moment. Look back on your life and see synchronicities for what they really are, not random events, but echoes of your own awareness, proof that you have always been connected to something greater. And know that the more focused your awareness becomes, the more the universe will align in ways that defy explanation. The myth of randomness is just a myth. The truth is much more inspiring. You are the architect of your reality, and the universe is your masterpiece. Reflect on how your emotions shape your daily reality. So, when you wake up in a state of joy, doesn't it feel like everything is effortless? People around you are kinder. Solutions are found on their own, and life just seems to work out. But on days when fear or anger is prevalent, doesn't it feel like the world reflects that state? It begs the question, why? Why do emotions seem so strong, as if they are the key to everything? Emotions are not just feelings, they are frequencies. They are the language through which one communicates with the universe. Just as a radio station is tuned to certain frequencies to play music, an emotional state tunes a person to the appropriate reality. The universe does not decide whether to bless you or not. It responds to the energy you emit at each moment. Let's look at this in more detail. Scientist John Archibald Wheeler argues that observation shapes reality. But what drives that observation? Emotion acts as an amplifier, intensifying the waves that thoughts send through the quantum network. A fleeting thought may create a small wave, but when charged with emotion, be it fear, love, or elation, it becomes a tsunami shaping reality with tremendous force. It's time to look at familiar things from a different angle. Many people allow their emotions to run unchecked, reacting machine-like to events and mistakenly believing that feelings arise as a response to external stimuli. But what if this is not the case? What if emotions are not just a reaction, but the root cause of what happens in a person's life? Imagine waking up filled with gratitude and anticipation. This positive emotional energy radiates outward, attracting favorable opportunities, useful acquaintances, and valuable experiences that are in tune with its vibrations. In this case, a person is not just reacting to a good day, he or she is creating it. However, here lies an important nuance. Emotions have tremendous power, regardless of whether a person consciously directs them or not. Negative feelings such as fear, anger, or shame shape reality just as effectively as joy or love. The only difference is that they create undesirable life scenarios. Wheeler's discoveries clearly demonstrate that reality is creative in nature, yet devoid of value judgments. It does not care what emotions a person feels, positive or negative. It simply reflects them like a mirror. That is why it is so important to understand one's emotions, because they are the rudder of life control, determining the direction of movement in the universe, which a person creates. Imagine that your emotions are the fuel in the tank of a car. You can't go anywhere without them, but what happens if you pour in the wrong fuel? The car either won't move, or even worse, will break down. Unfortunately, many people fill their tanks with fear and doubts, and then wonder why they feel stuck in a swamp. But there is a way out. Everyone can consciously choose the emotions with which they fuel their lives, and thus take control of the direction of their reality. Let's dive deeper into this concept. Imagine two realities existing side by side. In one, you are drowning in fear, and in the other, you are thriving in joy. Wheeler's theory says that both of these realities exist simultaneously as potentialities. Which one you experience depends on which wave you tune into. Your emotions are a kind of tuning knob. The more you live in fear, the more your mind tunes in to that reality. But when you switch to love, gratitude, or confidence, you completely change the station. You are not stuck in one version of reality. You move between infinite possibilities. However, there is an aspect that is often overlooked. There is no need to suppress or ignore negative emotions. They are not the enemy, but rather serve as signals that point to areas where one has deviated from one's true path. When fear arises, instead of resisting it, it is worth asking yourself, what is it trying to show? What is the focus? What is generating this feeling? By observing one's emotions without judgment, one takes away their power over oneself and regains control of the situation. Every emotion is a kind of dialogue with the universe. When a person feels gratitude, it is tantamount to saying, I am ready for more. When fear arises, it is like saying, I expect this to happen again. And the universe is always listening carefully to these signals. These are not just naive dreams, but laws of physics. As Wheeler has shown, the universe is complicit and responds not with words, but with alignment. The energy a person emits shapes their reality. So it is worth considering, what kind of reality are emotions creating in the moment? Are they building a life of abundance and joy? Or are they reinforcing a story of struggle and lack? The choice is always yours, and it is invariably yours. You are not hostage to your own feelings. On the contrary, you are their master, and therefore the master of your reality. Here is the task for the next 24 hours. Achieve the utmost awareness of your emotions. When you feel joy, intensify it. When fear or doubt creeps in, observe it, question it, and let it go. This slight shift will generate waves in the quantum network, aligning reality in ways that will amaze you. Remember, your emotions are not just a reaction. They are the blueprint of your universe. The more you realize this truth, the more you will see the universe responding, not as an aloof force, but as an extension of yourself. The language of creation has always been within you. It is time to speak it consciously. Close your eyes for a moment and visualize. At this very moment, there are infinite versions of you, each living a completely different life. There is a version of you that has made every decision you've ever hesitated over, a version that said yes instead of no, took risks instead of overreaching. However, here's the rub. All of these realities already exist. They're not some distant fantasy. They're happening right now, and the only thing separating you from them is your awareness. John Wheeler doesn't just suggest that you shape reality. He proves that infinite realities coexist, each choice, each thought, each emotion creating a fork in the road, generating new possibilities. But here's what most people never realize. You're not stuck on one path. Your awareness is the key that allows you to switch between these realities, choosing the one that matches who you really are. Imagine that reality is a huge streaming platform with endless channels, each channel representing a different version of your life. Right now, you are tuned into a particular channel that reflects your current beliefs, thoughts, and emotional frequency. But just as you change channels on your TV, you have the ability to switch to a different reality. The question is, do you know how to use the remote? Let's get this straight. The version of you living the life of your dreams is not some distant future, but a parallel reality that is just as real as the one you are experiencing now. Wheeler's all-out-of-nothing theory shows us that reality is not fixed. It is constructed from choices and possibilities. The observer effect in quantum physics confirms this. Particles exist in a state of potential until they are observed. Your awareness acts as an observer, turning potential into reality. So which version of reality are you immersed in right now? The one you want or the one you unconsciously agreed to? Here's the part that will strike your fancy. You don't have to create the life you want. It already exists. Your dream life, your ideal image, the version of you that is fearless, joyful, and unstoppable, already lives in another reality. The only thing you need to do is align your awareness with that version. It's like tuning a radio. When you match the frequency, you hear the music. But let's go deeper. How do you tune into the new reality? The first step to change is to realize that the current reality is merely a mirror image of one's personal beliefs and emotional state. If a person is convinced that the world is hostile and opportunities are extremely limited, this is the reality they will live in. However, once one changes this belief and decides to see the world as a source of abundance and support, a new, completely different version of reality begins to emerge. A person's consciousness is like a spotlight beam. Whatever the eye is focused on, it becomes brighter, livelier, more real. There is an effective method of readjustment of consciousness. You need to close your eyes and imagine a version of yourself that is already living a dream life. It is important to see the confidence, joy, and prosperity of this person, to feel yourself. It is not enough just to visualize. You need to fully immerse yourself in this image. How he moves, how he speaks, what decisions he makes. The main secret is to start acting as if this is the true I, and not sometime in the future, but right now. The very moment one begins to radiate the energy of the desired version of oneself, there is an attunement to its frequency. The consciousness aligns with its reality. Wheeler's interactive universe clearly demonstrates that this is not just a play of the imagination, but a very real physical process. Consciousness, choice, and action are the tools to move between realities. Unfortunately, most people never use them. Humanity sometimes gets stuck in monotonous scenarios, replaying familiar stories over and over again, not realizing that beyond their current perception, there is a limitless ocean of possibilities. It is worth stopping for a moment and reflecting on one's life. Is one really living the reality one dreams of, or is one mired in a version that is no longer satisfying? The power of change is already slumbering within everyone. It doesn't require grueling years of work or outside approval. All that is needed is a shift in awareness, a firm decision to focus on the reality one wishes to realize. Now it is worth imagining the domino effect that this realization will entail. If one is able to shift to the reality where one thrives, what else will one be able to attune with? Relationships, perspectives, even the way the world reacts to him. All of these can be transformed when the person himself changes. Wheeler's work convincingly demonstrates that the universe is not a static object, but a dynamic, living field of possibilities, and it is man who is at the helm of that ship. It is not simply a matter of creating a more comfortable life, but of realizing that man has always had the power of choice. Every moment is a chance to transform, to step into a new reality, to align with the limitless potential that already belongs to him by birthright. The question is whether you are ready to change the channel because the version of you waiting on the other side is ready to meet you. You just need to tune in. Let's delve deeper into this concept by going into an area that many are afraid to explore. Think back to every experience you've had, every victory and defeat, every fleeting moment of joy or pain. Now ask yourself, what is the thread that binds all these moments together? It's not your body, your thoughts, or even your emotions. It's awareness, that unchanging, silent entity that observes it all. This is the true self, and it is here that John Wheeler's work leads us into uncharted territory. What if the entire universe is a mirror reflecting this realization? Wheeler challenges the idea that reality exists independently of observation. He argues that consciousness and the universe are inseparable, as if they are engaged in a dynamic dance where one cannot exist without the other. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You see not the mirror itself, but your reflection in it. The universe functions on a similar principle, not being something external and isolated. It is a reflection of human awareness, which is constantly changing and responding to human projected thoughts and feelings. Think of how often in your life you have the feeling that the world is speaking directly to you, whether through a coincidence, a problem that has arisen, or a sudden insight. This is not just a play of imagination, but a mirror of the universe reflecting human consciousness. The scientist Wheeler described reality as a self-exciting chain, a kind of loop in which the act of observation creates the object of observation itself. Man acts as both observer and observed, creator and creation. The stars in the sky, the people we meet, the events we experience. All of these are reflections of the awareness that exists within us. However, most people don't realize one important detail. A mirror doesn't lie or judge, it simply reflects. If a person looks into it and sees chaos, it means that chaos exists within his consciousness. If he sees beauty, it means that beauty is present in himself. The universe neither punishes nor rewards man, it only reacts to him. Every thought, every belief, every vibration that a person emits is imprinted on the canvas of existence and reflected in forms that are often difficult to comprehend. Have you ever noticed how your inner state affects the world around you? When you are full of confidence and joy, all doors seem to open in front of you. People reach out to you, opportunities arise by themselves, and life flows smoothly and harmoniously. But when you give in to doubts or fears, the world around you seems to reflect this state. Difficulties arise, everything goes wrong, and you feel trapped. This is not a mere coincidence, but a manifestation of the divine mirror in action. Wheeler's discoveries prove conclusively that you are not just in the universe, but the universe is within you. But let's dig even deeper. This mirror reflects not only your surface thoughts or fleeting emotions, but also your deepest truths that you may not even be aware of. If you believe you are worthless, the universe will reflect that belief by throwing up situations that confirm it. If you believe that you are limitless, the universe will also reflect this by giving you chances to reach your potential. This is why self-knowledge is so important. The better you understand yourself, the clearer the reflection becomes. Here is a simple but profound exercise in self-knowledge. Imagine that the universe is a huge mirror that surrounds you on all sides. Ask yourself a question. What is it reflecting back to you at this moment? Take a look at your life, relationships, career, emotions. What patterns do you notice? What beliefs show up in the reflection? It is important to note that this is not an occasion for judgment, but rather an opportunity for awareness. The mirror is neutral yet accurate. It always reflects your inner state, no more and no less. Wheeler's research reveals a profound truth. The universe is not only involved in our lives, but is deeply personal. It exists not only as a whole, but also as a reflection of your unique consciousness. Every experience you have, every person you meet, is part of that reflection, guiding you to a deeper understanding of your true self. The question is, are you willing to look into that mirror with clarity and intention, or would you rather turn away, blaming the reflection instead of changing what it shows? Recognizing this fact is both liberating and humbling, for it means that one has the power to transform one's reality by changing one's own perception. However, it also implies taking full responsibility for everything he sees in the mirror of his life. Most people avoid this level of responsibility, preferring to blame circumstances, others around them, or even fate. But he is not one of them. He is here because he senses the truth, even if it instills fear. He is willing to look in the mirror and see the universe staring back. And here's the big secret. The mirror doesn't just reflect him, it expands with him. The more he attunes with his infinite nature, the more the universe reveals its infinite possibilities. It is not static, it is alive, growing and evolving with him. The participation of the universe, according to Wheeler, is not just a theory, it is a plan for awakening. The divine mirror is his guide, teacher, and creation. The question is what he will choose to see, because when he sees it, he will realize that the universe has always been waiting for him to awaken to himself. Looking behind the veil of the ordinary, it is impossible to deny the obvious. The universe doesn't just exist around you, it actively responds to your actions and intentions. What choices will you make when you realize this power? Right now, without delay, take a decisive step. Share in the comments one word that reflects your state of mind at this moment. Ready, awakened, limitless, or any other word that resonates with your inner self will become not just a thought, but a conscious choice. This is your signal to the universe that you are ready to unleash your limitless potential. But it is important to realize that this is only the beginning of the journey. If you are not yet part of our community, ask yourself, why not? Here we are not gliding on the surface, but diving into depths that others don't dare to look into. We discover truths that can transform your life beyond recognition. This is your invitation to join the Philosophical Essence family, a community of creators and architects of reality, building the universe according to your true self. The universe is frozen in anticipation. A new revelation is ready to unfold, but only for those who dare to look in its direction. Don't miss your chance. Sign up now, make yourself known, and take a decisive step towards the limitless power you were always destined to possess. Become part of a movement that unites those who strive for self-improvement and expanding the horizons of the possible. Discover new perspectives, gain access to exclusive materials, and witness incredible transformations. Don't let doubts and fears hold you back. Embrace the challenge and unleash your potential to become the limitless force you've always dreamed of.